In 13.2, we're focusing in more on period and amplitude and looking at equations. So we have our sine function, which is f of x equals a sine of bx minus h plus k. And then our cosine function is a cosine of bx minus h plus k. So our amplitude we get from finding the absolute value of a. So whatever number's in front of your sine or cosine function, taking the absolute value of that will tell you what your amplitude is. Now our period's a little bit more difficult because we have to take 2 pi over b. So b comes from whatever is in the parentheses in front of x. So find the amplitude and period of the function. So amplitude is 4, and then our period is 2 pi over b, and this is our b, which is 1/4. Now things get a little bit tricky here because we're taking 2 pi divided by 1/4. So this would really be 2 pi times 4 over 1, which is really just 8 pi. And you could always put this into your calculator as well, 2 pi divided by 1/4. So our amplitude on this one, remember if we don't see a number, there's an invisible 1, is 1. And our period we find by taking 2 pi over b, which in this case is 2, and those 2's cancel, so we get just pi. So from looking at a graph, remember our amplitude is from our midline to the highest point. So in this case, this is 2 and 4. So amplitude is 4. And our period is how long it takes to complete a cycle. Our sine cycle goes up, down, then back up. So if this is 2 pi, this is 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. So our period is 8 pi. All right, our amplitude on this one, here's our midline, so 1, 2. And then, oops, 2. And then our cycle for cosine goes down and then back up. So our period is pi. Right, now we're going the opposite direction and we want to write a function with the given amplitude and period. So remember, for a sine function, y equals amplitude sine of, we're just going to leave it as y equals amplitude sine. For now, I'm just going to leave it as bx because that's all we're using. So we know our amplitude, or a, is 4. So that's what we'll plug in there. Now we need to know what b is. So remember, we found our period by taking 2 pi over b. So to find b, we take 2 pi divided by our period. So 2 pi over 6 pi, pi's cancel, and we get 1/3. So now this is going to plug in where b is. So y equals 4 sine of 1/3 x. Our cosine function is going to be really similar. A cosine of bx. So our amplitude is -2. And we have to do a similar process. 2 pi divided by pi over 4, which gets a little tricky. 2 pi times, we multiply by the reciprocal, 4 over pi, pi still cancel, and we get 8. So that is what's going to go in place of b. Y equals -2 cosine of 8x. Right, now we are graphing. So cosine, we know it's going to start on our y-axis and not at the origin, and it has an amplitude of 2. So that means we're going to start up at 2. Now we need to know how long it takes to complete a cycle. So that is 2 pi divided by b, which in this case is 2, which ends up with giving us pi. So cosine is going to go down. There would be -2, and right here would be pi over 2, because that's our halfway in between. And then so we'd go down, and then we'd go back up. And right here is where we would find 2 pi. Now remember, you could also type this into decimals to graph it. So that should cover everything that you will see in 13.2.